Hi and welcome to my series called Any Weather Builds. Any Weather Builds covers builds that won't be directly nerfed unless they are directly nerfed and do not require any seasonal artifacts to actually function. It only requires subclass specific things and specific things in the sandbox, which is why they're Any Weather Builds. You can use them in any season or now episodes, but it still applies. This episode is completely covering Titan. How Titan is not as bad as people want to say in the videos and everything like that. Like, Titan is okay. If you haven't watched anything recently, if you're watching in the future, technically, recently there's a lot of talk about how Titan is just worse off compared to other classes, and I do agree, but not to the same degree. For example, Prismatic. You're gonna see me rock a build with these two and this one. I'm going to rock a build with Diamond Lance and these two. Or I'm going to have a build mixing around these three builds, because I always like having 3 builds per video. But these two are the problematic bits, in my personal opinion. This specifically is the most problematic. This isn't. This can be built into, like, there's cool little things like with Thruster, with the other class abilities. Like, there's other ways to build into it. There's cool things you can do with it overall. Like, that can work, just the other pieces are more run and gun, which is why that's, in my personal opinion, not as effective. And in my personal opinion, what makes a Titan is not punch. Punch is every class. Every class has punch crazy builds. Sure, it might be a knife they throw, but still, it's a punch. Relatively speaking, you're throwing a fist. You're punching, but you're throwing a knife instead of a hammer. That's the only difference between a hunter knife build and a bonk Titan. It's just a knife versus the hammer. That's really it. The thing that makes Titan, though, different than the Space Wizards and the Devil May Cry sons of bitches, and I do mean that in the best way I can. Just Hunters, I love even playing Hunter. Just Hunter is Devil May Cry meets FPS meets if they are good, you're dead. Because they have traps, they have all sorts of shit in PvP and PvE. They are fucking good if you can play them right. But same with Warlocks. Titans, though, no one really plays right, which is why I personally think I'm the best person to talk about this, because how I've studied the game, how I've learned little pieces here and there, how I've done so many other things and just proven that meta doesn't exist, especially when it comes to perks, when it comes to different things like that. You're going to see how different builds are just good because of different perks that will be thought to be either PvE or PvP. I have used in PvE or PvP, which is the opposite of the one you would think it's for, in either or, and made it very good. I think of the game in this gun is in Destiny, so Destiny Sandbox. It's not PvE or PvP, it's overall. Because of that knowledge, I am constantly using things like the Omnet, or not constantly wanting to use the Omnet AR2, I think that's how you pronounce it, with Dynamic Sway like I'm using in this build, and Tap the Trigger like I'm using this build. You're going to see why that is very good, and why I'm using all these different things. Even though it looks weird overall, all these different pieces are absolutely thought through and gorgeous, even though it looks a little bit funky and people would think it's bullshit and bad, even though it's really good. And other videos I have covered, and you see different ways I play. Like, for an example, without using any extra movement, without using Icarus Dash, without using anything, just your jumps, Titan has the fastest movement by far, and that is without using the spam of the jump with, I believe it's catapult or high lift. I forget exactly how to do the spam of the jumps. I do it constantly. It's what I like to call train. Because if you didn't know, every lift has, I think every jump, but lift is the most applicable. With lift, especially strafe, it is the most, this is how I use it. All lifts, all jumps apply to the arc of your jump and the momentum of said arc. So if you spam the button, if you're like XX or jump, you will go straight up. If you jump and wait for you to be horizontal with the ground, basically like just about a touch, you'll go horizontal with strafe. But strafe lift can carry momentum if you bunny hop. And strafe lift will also gain momentum. There's a maximum cap that you can just generate yourself with strafe lift, but if you have a flat enough surface and the ability to gain the momentum, and flat enough because it can be slanted pretty heavily and you can still gain momentum if you know what you're doing, because it's just the bunny hop and jumping from strafe lift into strafe lift, not letting yourself have enough time to reset the momentum on staying put for enough. You have to keep that momentum going, but on just about any surface you can do that. And stuff like that is why I think I have the most leeway when it comes to this, because little things like that, and when you add on like amplify, shit just gets fucking crazy. Like the movements you can do, like for an example, just something I like doing here and there because it just is fun to do. Because strafe lift is strafe lift, it lasts a decent bit, but the cool thing about it is you can actually jump towards a wall, bounce off of something, and keep that momentum. Because of how strafe lift works, it works pretty similarly to actually skimmers. If you've ever bounced them off of something, how you'll stop gliding and then you'll glide the other direction, you can do the same general thing with strafe lift. If you run, jump to a wall, strafe lift into it, bounce. If you intentionally hold the other direction, the way you're going to bounce with your movement, you'll go that direction. You'll actually get a pretty decent bounce, which can allow you to get up to little places you wouldn't otherwise be able to, because like you have to jump to another platform and then up, unless you do that specific bounce. Like there's places here and there where that's applicable, but not everywhere. But things like that allow Titan to just be amazing. And my personal opinion for what Titan is raw power. I think, like, for an example, Titan, my personal builds on how I personally play Titan is an all-round kit. Every single ability is intertwined. Every single thing is working together, which is why I'm going to get to this build. Why this build will make a lot of sense later, even though if you're a meta person, none of this really makes sense except for that. Possibly. And even my role of that I don't think is really meta except for that. And personally, I don't think meta exists in this game because of the things I talk about here and there, but all that's fine. The main thing I'm wanting to get into is how Titan interacts with the subclass. Titan Titan's verbs that they use are the surrounding, the engulfing, the it's on me, it's that general thing of how they absorb it, how they use it. It's surrounding them. Like with Void Titan, for an example. Void Titan is the gain the overshield and use the overshield. Like for an example, with Control Demolitionist and not that one. This entire setup, this double up, you can actually gain the overshield, punch something with the overshield to then. And actually, let me make sure because I think yes, that's the melee one. That will actually proc on the Void Overshield melee, which allows you to cause Void volatile and then trigger it with either melee you really want to and other exotics here and there that you can build into. But that general thing of make the overshield, use the overshield, like this even is overshield. This is using the ability and making it spread across your entire body to make you immortal for a couple seconds. That's just Titan. Titan is the overall ability. Like they are the ability. It's not they use the ability. It's not they toss the ability. It's not they make a little buddy. They are the element. They are the wall kind of thing. It's not they use the wall. They are the wall. It's not they use the element. They are the element. And I think that's how they should really build into buffing Titan. Because I do agree Titan needs a little bit of buffs here and there. And this is going to be an any weather build, but I do want to talk about how Titan is still good, but not the greatest. Like I do agree it's not the greatest. There's a lot of little bits here and there, and there's so many little things that I just don't like building into because of how little things work. But Void, I think, is kind of one of the best overall for the Titan kit because of the amount of survivability you can get and different things like that. I do not know where little things could be changed because I kind of like everything of it with how you can synergize things here and there. But I do. The main thing I'm going to be talking about is how I think Titan should be the ability, like the generator of the light, where the Warlock and Hunter can use that in other ways. Like, I think they should do something like that. Like, if you haven't watched anything on Marvel Rivals, I think the three classes, even the three classes together, like if you have a full team of Titans, they should still be able to synergize their Titanness. Like, for an example, I think, like, off the top of my head, I don't know how balanced this will be. I don't have the actual numbers. I don't have any way to simulate this. I don't have any way to do this. But I think Soul Invictus, if not bits and pieces of Soul Invictus, like the Sunspot itself, but I think Soul Invictus should be a base Titan thing, but I think Hunter and Warlock should get something similar for each of their subclasses. Like, I don't think base Titan, I think base Solar Titan specifically. And with that, if you didn't know, and I do want to tack this on because this will actually make other things a little bit more applicable. Like, for an example, if you didn't know, with Prismatic, if you have the Arc Super equipped and you get Arc multi-kills, you get amplified. That's how you can trigger that without having to have Arc subclass equipped. All you have to do is have the Super equipped to be able to trigger that. Not everything else has something like that. If Titan, I think this general concept of having Titan be able to make sunspots, which will give them access to very handy ad clear and whatever Bungie really wants to tack onto it as well, because there's so many other things you could really pair onto it. And I think it should be on ability and weapon kill, which I think abilities are guaranteed. Weapon kills are like every other, something like that. Like it's an orb generator, like that general thing. You make an orb, you make that. Something like that, I think. Or not, you make an orb because Reaper would make. Or hell, you could, because I'll let you build into it a little bit more. But something like that to make you have more build. I don't know if it should give you healing, but if you still have Soul Invictus as a thing that gives you all the healing on sunspots, it should tackle more. Like I don't know. I don't know because I don't have the raw numbers. There's so many little things you could do there, but things like that. And that would also let you build into, and I say let you as in Bungie, would let you build into other subclasses doing something else like that. Where like for Tingles could be a on just strand weapon kill. Like how that would be the same thing for that, but another subclass, like for an example, a Strand Hunter or Strand Warlock. Actually, Strand Warlock, this is more simple. Strand Warlock makes a thread thing on rapid multi kills on base. Like I think there's ways to make uh, tangles on base, like different things like that will make it so much better overall. Like just make it flow overall. Like the team synergies in Marvel, not Marvel, yeah, Marvel Rivals. That's actually what I was gonna say. Correct. Hi. Um, this overall playstyle, how Prismatic works, is very punch happy, but not in only get up in there. You're going to see me use pretty interesting exotics, pretty interesting combos. And the segue from that is, and I do want to make sure I have the right super. I think I have the right super. I do. Cool. This build, the reason why I have Caprice is because, okay, first, if you did not know, the second half of this, the solar energy explosion, that does not actually trigger. But the solar final blows, though, do recharge class ability, not just barricade. And I don't know if that's with thruster on arc, but this, it works beautifully because then I compare that with this, which okay, I pair the class ability region with Reaper, Overreach, Bomber to give me all of that. I have those to pair with that and that, which that is for a high damage laser beam. Literally, that if you don't know how to use it effectively in PvP and PvE at range, tap fired. It's very similar to div if you know how to use that, and if you don't know, just tap fire. Just keep tap firing it like it's a like you don't have rapid fire or full auto on and scout rifle. Just keep tapping it as fast as you can. I don't think it actually worries about speed. If you can tap it like rapid fire, I think it's still good. But you wanting to tap fire because that would allow you to do a whole lot of damage at range because of the weird like recoil it has. It's very handy. This because it is a wand for the dark side of prismatic, which allows me to do a whole lot of things, and just the ability to do slice, which is that which allow I forget I think it's like I want to say 30% damage reduction, 35% damage reduction around there, up to 40, like 30 to 40 around there. I want to say I forget exactly where it is, but that's how much less damage they do to you, which is incredibly handy. Because you can just slap that on a boss, slap that on literally anything that could hurt you, and then they can't hurt you as much. Tack that on with, say, Glacial Quake for this, which will then give me Frost Armor, which will give me, and Frost Armor is not something I have studied at all. I do not know the damage reduction at all, but it does stack up and up and up. I think the balancing there overall is that it actually gives you less crit damage because Woven Mail doesn't apply any damage reduction to your crit hitbox, but your overall body. But I think that's like a 40% base. I think Frost Armor stacks up to near that, but gives overall damage reduction. I think that's the thing just off the top of my head because every verb has its own little thing overall, which is very handy and very helpful overall. Like for an example, Void Overshield's thing is not that good in higher in PvE, but it's still the other half of it because it's not actually your health taking damage when you get shot. It's the overshield. So if you can proc it, you can take more shots easily and guarantee you're not taking as much damage, heal up, and different things like that. That's what it's very good at if you want to use it as a get it and go type of thing. Which, if you use it like that on any subclass because of that specific thing, it is fucking gorgeous. Which is very handy. And you can build anything into that. All of these different verbs are amazing. They are all very handy and very useful. Like for an example, Woven Mail is something I'm going to build into later with the same fragment. This fragment is something I use a whole lot. Woven Mail with Recuperation, if you don't know, is basically Budget Devour. But only like Budget Devour in multiple ways. Like you only get it on ore pickup, but you do keep the damage reduction, so it's decent overall. But the ore pickup giving you that chunk of health plus the damage reduction basically gives you that on that ore pickup Devour practically because number shenanigans basically. It basically gives you Devour that you can then keep proccing by ore pickup, and with this subclass specifically on melee kill, and because I have knockout plus that, I double it up. And I'm going in detail on this one. The other ones I'm not going to go into as much detail because I can just scroll over it, but I'm wanting to show off how synergistic and how Titan is the abilities. It's not Warlock where they're maximizing one ability. A good Titan build can use all of them. Like, for an example, my class ability is the main thing I'm building into. I have Hammer Strike to allow me to have a very easy movement ability that I can pair into very easily with literally anything on my kit. Sure, I have to keep moving, but this build is a very movement type of build. And if I'm ever running, I am trying to get to a place, so having that instant jut a direction is very handy. And if you did not know, different melee abilities have different distances, specifically shoulder strikes. They used to, I don't know if that was a change that they did recently, or recently-ish. Fire Strike used to have the longest distance. I believe Shield Strike had the most damage, and Arc never really did anything besides blind, and its own general thing. And another reason, Hammer Strike is the best ability here because of how I have my buttons. I do not have a keyboard or bumpers or anything like that. I have the basic PlayStation 5 controller. I really want the newer one, the one that has the removable joysticks, the ones that have the paddles and the removable paddles, the gamer's dream controller type of shit. The thing that PlayStation made, I think, with somebody else. PlayStation is the one that said, make this shit, if I remember correctly, which is fucking gorgeous. Or just said, yes, I don't know the exact things, but it was advertised on PlayStation a little bit ago. I think a while ago, actually, is a better terminology. That controller is the one I really want because that would allow me to have paddles, different things like that, to allow me to do the typical thing of having these melees and not having the ability to just do an unpowered melee, which is the most bullshit thing in my opinion. Not bullshit, easy word. Bungie has so many things, or not Bungie, I think every Bungie game really will at this point, but Destiny has so many different things you can do, so many little things you can do here and there that make it where there's so many different settings. And I can just show you that real quick because holy fuck. And real quick, as in I'm just going to scroll down this shit. All these settings means something. All these settings you can put as a button on keyboard and mouse, which there's reasons why keyboard and mouse is just superior even with controller aim assist. Keyboard and mouse is just superior in every way, shape, or form. Even in any game, Apex, any game ever, keyboard and mouse is just superior to controller aim assist. Depending, like, if the game is made around controller aim assist, like for an example, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, and the older Call of Duties in general, how when you aim down sights on a, or I think with only, I think you're gonna play with the controller. I don't think you can actually play with the PC, maybe nowadays, but aiming down sight snaps to the head, that is aggressive. Oh fuck! But if it doesn't do that, the PC is just kind of better because just think about the lever. And I know I said I didn't want to get into this. Just it's an interesting concept that people want to say that controller is just better. But when you think about the lever that consoles use, that one joystick where the PC user has a mouse pad that they have, and they could use their entire desk. Technically, theoretically, they use their entire desk. That's what I would do. I would use my entire desk if I was using a PC. I would have a specialized keyboard where I only have a couple buttons I only really need, so I don't have that much clutter, and I can use the entire table to allow me to move and do different things like that. Like have a good spread on my arms, have that overall control because that'll maximize what PC is. It is maximum control in buttons, aim, and everything. Like for an example, you can tell somebody's on console or PC better at range. Because at range, console players typically have less recoil control. Typically have less recoil control than PC because PC can just pull it down a lot easier. Some games like Destiny actually balance around both inputs, which is very handy overall and just very good overall. And if you don't know, and this is like your first video or something like that, I am recording all of my videos on PlayStation 5. which makes it where I can't do a whole lot of things that typical YouTubers can, which is why there's that long pause on this screen because I can't actually like edit as much. Like there's only like I want to say like 15 voice chunks I can record in the recording, like editing it. So I want to try and record as much audio in the recording, but I do edit here and there if needed. But thus far, I think I am pretty good. And speaking of that, I do want to get back to this if there's really anything else I really want to talk about. This might seem redundant with the exotic and all I'm doing, but with amplified that I'm getting with this, speed booster also counts as an elemental buff. So, and it's also constant ability regen on top of ability regen, which is pretty handy because it's going up a good chunk per second on top of each kill, giving me good chunks, which is regening extra fast. But the extra bonus is I can actually use that in tandem with Speed Booster, because if you didn't know, Thruster's distance is the same amount as if you were sliding, give or take. So if you're doing what I like to call the Scratchy Dog, I just came up with that because I never really gave it a name, but the general mechanic is like slide canceling in Call of Duty, but you more look like you're a dog that has to scratch his ass. But it's generally slide canceling. It's run, slide, sprint, slide, sprint. Like keep doing that, clicking, clicking, clicking with your controller or whatever you're using. Go back and forth, but always holding forward to do it. If you do that, and I don't think you have to worry about. I think you can slide, slide, slide to get a lot of distance. But I want to say because of visuals, but it could easily be how the lens zooms in and out that fucks with it. But I want to say if you sprint for a little bit more and then slide again, you'll get more distance. Like if you sprint a little bit, slide, sprint a little bit, slide, it'll actually be better overall. But that little bit I'm talking about works for any subclass. Any class, if they can proc amplified, that works for you. But the movement with straight flip is a little bit more crazy, and that's something I actually kind of just show off in gameplay. Uh, Thruster, though, has the same distance, and because you can do that sprint, slide, Thruster, you can thrust and then sprint from that, keeping Speed Booster going, so you can then keep that going while just running around an open world or anything you want to. Not open world destination, because not really open. They are open world technically, because open worlds have invisible barriers and different things like that, so it is open world technically. But with all that said, and okay, if you did not know, knockout counts as a charged melee for a lot of things. It counts for charged melee as for Fast of Dawn, counts for charged melee for heavy handed, counts for charged melee for a lot of things. But I'll point this out right now. This is one of those things that could actually get nerfed and will actually get nerfed. They have already said that. I do think this should be a thing that is just Titan. I do think this should be one of the things that's like kind of advertised and it has more ways to build into it overall and ease of use for all the kits overall. But I think that should be another thing of they are the power. They are orb generators by heart. Like you can easily make any build with Titan to just maximize orb generation, even though other classes can do it a hell of a lot easier. Like the new Warlock helmet, you just toss a healing grenade out and then you're just printing orbs because allies. But that's game breaking, kind of. Before that, Titans were very good at making orbs because of knockout and different things like that, because you can just constantly be printing them. But that general thing allows you to do so many crazy things, and if they build into that, I think Warlocks and Hunters should have something on par, but they already kind of do. Their overall kit is pretty good, so it doesn't have to be anything major. Like, I don't think there should be anything taken away from any of the Hunter or Warlock kits. Just little additions overall to the Titan kit and little touch-ups to the Warlock and Hunter will be very nice to balance them all out, to make them all up to that same par. Because Titan is, like I said, kind of bad off. And the worst pain points are Arc, because there is no good way by itself, which is why Prismatic is amazing. Prismatic allows these little problems here and there to be completely solved. Arc's entire problem, my personal opinion, for Titan specifically, is survivability. Survivability for Arc Titan is absolutely fucking shit, because the only way you can do that is with an Arc melee kill or Juggernaut, which, in my personal opinion, is just kind of unusable because it gets rid of your class ability, which, if you're using Arc, in my personal opinion, you should just use Thruster, and if you're using that, you should have it for a movement ability, and if you're using Juggernaut, it's just gone. I personally think Juggernaut should be more of a passive, whereas like damage reduction or something, like a frontal shield that gives damage reduction, like a glaive that doesn't cost class ability energy, but to give it a flavor on the frontal shield to give Titans more damage overall too, what it could do is when you run into an enemy with the frontal shield active, you discharge it and like apply a fuck ton of jolt or something like that in an AoE or directly into one target. Not even hell, it could be the only arc Titan thing of you specifically are fucked type of thing because you run into it with the frontal shield, where you can intentionally not run into it, save the class ability and different things like that, which will give it more playstyle and more playroom overall. Something like that will make it so much better, but as it is, Arc Titan just kind of fucking sucks. And it helps but also doesn't help. It's kind of another pain point that the only other way to really heal yourself is with knockout, and that is a close quarters fuck 'em up. And the only other things you can use is the other arc Titan melees, and those Titan melees are very close quarters, very just in their face, and that's not really handy because of the little problems with the melee. Like for an example, Thunderclap. That is amazing. It's beautiful. Whoever made it is a gorgeous game designer because of the charge of just that anim, everything about it is amazing. But when you take any sort of knockback, it is gone. Even if you land about to do it, if they bump you at all, it's fucked. And that is annoying. And I think the balance for that, I think the solve for that is add another line of text of when you're in the air, it does something else. But it works the same way. You don't have to be sprinting, you don't have to do anything, just while you're in the air, you can do a charge up, but more of like a ground pound. Like how this has the seismic slam, the kind of thing. That would be the same general thing for this. And hell, it could actually build into blind. Like how this builds into blind and different things like that. It could build in, or hell, it could build into jolt actually. Instead of blind, that builds into jolt because it is thunderclap. You're jolting them, you're shocking them with lightning. That general thing of just slamming down like Thor or Zeus, just boom, and jolting everything around you, which will be very fucking cool and will give you another way to use it because I think it would technically have to. I think it would do less damage but wider area depending on the charge, where when you're on the ground it can actually get that charged up and off. It does more damage than the aerial version. I think that would be the balance overall for that. And like I've said in previous videos, if you haven't watched it, I do like giving a full idea and not just bits and pieces, so you don't have to try and fill it in for yourself, because most of my ideas aren't normal, but I'm high function autistic, and like I have shown off and have talked about, it's actually very beneficial. I'm not actually going to do that one. One of the builds, the reason why I'm doing this is because one of the builds is going to be using the healing auto. I am not going to be able to show you a good chunk of it, but I'm going to run through a portion with the healing auto because never mind. I can just talk about it. The healing auto is very handy, and one of the builds I'm wanting to use. Excuse me, because I had to burp. One of the builds I'm wanting to use is my support build. This build overall is absolutely gorgeous. It has so many little synergies, so many little things overall, even though it is a weird kit overall. The amount of survivability, like for an example, while you're doing damage with anything, that healing auto is constantly gaining energy, which allows you to constantly do that healing hip fire, which has crazy tracking, and I want to say 34 range. I believe that's what Cross figured out, because that healing auto is just fucking crazy. And pairing that with Lumina, which is a chunk of healing plus the damage increase, swapping to that while doing everything with Lumina and everything else, just playing the game overall, it is fucking gorgeous. And then pair that with Lion Ramparts, because most, not all, enemies use projectile. That weapon is absolute, or not the weapon, that exotic, which is Lion Ramparts, is fucking gorgeous because you can jump, and it's not saying that you do not stay still with Lion Ramparts. Never stay still with any Titan ability. Like Titan, okay. Part of what makes people say Titan is bad is Titan is really hard to play. Titan, you have to be getting in there doing a lot of shit, which is why I personally think Titan should have a movement ability as all their class abilities. Like I think Strand, an easy one for Strand could easily be where they're looking. It's like a thruster, but where they're looking, they launch a direction and possibly like do some damage. Like it's they're basically becoming the blade, is basically what I'm thinking for that movement ability. But they can look up, dash up, which will allow them to do a little bit of movement that they can't do otherwise, which can pair with grapple pretty nicely. Little things here and there which would allow them to be more flowy with their overall movement. And the reason why I think that'll be handy is for things, I forgot I can spawn this, which will be handy for things like Reaper generation or Reaper in general, and, fuck, I forgot. You know, there's a thing up ahead, so it's not really that bad. Um, orb generation. Just talking about Reaper orb generation, different things like that. Having a movement thing where it doesn't stick you in place because trying to pop either of the barricades, which is why Thruster with Dranger is a gorgeous idea. That is amazing. I just think this Dranger with Thruster is just kind of worse than any other class ability with Dranger. I think that needs a little bit of tweaking as well because of how it functions. If you've played with it, it's not the greatest. Even with the exotic, that makes it better. That gives it tracking and is basically a rocket of suspension. That is even kind of shit because it has to go up and then down. If it just went straight, that's all it has to do to be fucking gorgeous, to be absolutely, that is something you would use. Because it goes up and then down in PvE, PvP alike, if there's geometry, like a vertical, like if there's anything above you, you can easily hit that. And then boom, it's gone. You can't hit the target you're wanting to. All sorts of different things like that. It won't work as well because it goes up and then down. If it just goes straight, it's gorgeous. But also with that, without that exotic, the detonation is not that good. And for Strand, Drinker's Lash is kind of a bad thing because TDT did actually have a good point how the exotic kind of feels like a necessity, at least in my personal opinion. I think that's what he was meaning. The exotic kind of feels like a necessity for the exotic because it makes so many things, or for the aspect, because it makes so many things about the aspect just better and just good overall. I think a lot of that exotic should kind of go to Drinker's Lash, but I don't agree with TDT. I don't think it should be all of the exotic, basically. I think what it should do, I think like the exotic should give you like being able to go through multiple with the Drinker's Lashes, and on suspension giving you the Woven Mail. But what it doesn't do is give you the tracking, or I think it just should give you the tracking actually. Tracking as well is tacked onto that, like those three things. But the buff to Dranger's is it tosses out the three waves. That alone kind of makes it feel like it was made for the exotic and not the exotic was made for it. Or I forget exactly which way it works, but that kind of feels kind of bad. But little things like that overall is what makes Titans feel lackluster. They're good. They're amazing. That's why I'm a Titan main. There's so many things you can do, even in high-end shit. People typically look at me, look at my builds, laugh at me, call me a Titan. Like, don't even want to listen to me because my builds look stupid. But you're going to see, these builds aren't stupid. They're absolutely fucking thought through and gorgeous. Like, for an example, I've tapped the trigger on this auto to give me basically a scout for my auto. Which, sure, it's like a PvP mod, but PvP mods, or perks technically, can be very handy in PvE, which is why I typically use like things that help with accuracy for the weapons, different things like that. And the reason why I'm just going punch happy is because I'm trying to talk and play. I can't do that. I'm not good at that. But the overall gameplay is being shown because it's very, very good. And the reason why this is a wand for the Dark Half is because I'm applying a Darkness debuff and also doing the damage with a Darkness weapon. Fuck, I didn't know there's a boy behind me. Like I said, I can't play very well and talk. I did not actually know it was behind me because I was talking. Couldn't hear him. I'm just going to play to show off the build now because I can do that. It should finish. That's And that right there is the beautiful thing about fusion rifles in PvE. You can intentionally, with one volley, hit multiple targets, even though that is still one bullet, technically. Kinda, sorta. Fuck you! No, 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 no. See that little jerks you can do here and there? It's still the same mechanic as if you did the spammy stuff to get the typical pretty fast movement speed. Oh! Things like that is why I like Titan, because you're kind of incentivized to have a whole lot of resilience, which allows you to be very ballsy. Like I really like to do, which is why I really like Titan. It allows me to get in there, fuck shit up, and be an absolute nuisance to anyone I am fighting, because of the shit like that. Just constant fuck them up in their face and being an absolute nuisance. Even in PvP, what I love doing is not using a shotgun. I absolutely hate using a shotgun, but just about anything else, running in and just dying over and over again because my goal, like I typically play control, which is why this is my goal. My goal isn't to win the fight, it's to make you weak enough for my buddy to win the fight. Which is what I maximize with Titan, which is what I always do even in PvE. In PvE, high end like this, I try my best not to die, which is part of the reason why I have this. This is actually pretty good for movement because of that. But something I actually haven't tested. Okay. If I remember correctly, with the stasis subclass, the slide thing that you can do. I forget. I think Howl of the Storm. No, that's the shard generation. I forget exactly what it's called. That ability you can actually use in the stasis super. I think you should actually be able to do that in prismatic, but the consecration instead, which will make that a little bit better overall and give you another use for it. And little things like that, I think this game could really benefit from of having multiple uses for things. Like for an example, the Hunter Precision Knife and just the Donk Hammer in general, but those two are pretty good examples of good gameplay in Destiny, in my personal opinion, of how Destiny gameplay can really shine, of how they're very good. And right there is a show of why I have the fragment and the aspect, both giving me ability to regen. And part of the reason why I have the melee I do is because both of that will then charge up at the same time, so I can do the wombo combo of boom, boom, every single time I want to. Which comes in really, really handy whenever I want to just delete something off the face of the earth. Or, in this case, face of, Luna? And that is why I said tap fire. Sorry for just running into that wall a little bit. I was turning off an alarm. I think you actually heard that a little bit. My headset is just very soundproof when I have things going on. And okay, if you heard the song, it's Space Odyssey. That is my alarm, and I did say that was my alarm a couple videos ago, or in a video, I don't know actually when exactly, but that is my alarm because I really like the song, but it doesn't flow really well at all with anything, which sucks, but it is an amazing alarm because I will hear that even through my decently soundproof headset. It's not really that soundproof, it just fits very well. Another thing, if you did not know, I have a gigantic head, but I am also a very gigantic person. I am 6'2", doesn't sound that big, but I am also wide and just big overall, big boned, stuff like that. Where the fuck is the hole? Oh, I just was on the wall. Okay. I did jump the high enough. The high enough? Okay. And that is why I have that grenade. It's just a good no button. Technically, you can use any grenade for this build if you want to copy it, but I personally prefer that grenade because it's a good just no button. And I do want to show off multiple different abilities and just overall kits of how you can use the subclass. Because so many little things can be used in little ways, which is what I love about Prismatic. And something amazing about Prismatic's balance. Everything basically requires a kill, or multiple kills to proc. Unlike a lot of other classes that require... Excuse me, you don't hear me? That requires something else to proc, like orb pickup or something that sure is a kill, but technically you can make orbs in other ways. Like some exotics have some other way, like the new Warlock exotic that on healing, think like specific healing, lets you do that. Generate orbs, that is, which is very handy overall and can do so many little things here and there and just build crappy stuff. Something kind of cool about some supers here and there that I do think is another thing they should build into overall is with, say, for an example, the Strand Super and the Stasis Super. Both of them give back your melee charge. Stasis Super, specifically the Titan Stasis and the Titan Strand. I don't know about any other class, but those two classes specifically do the specific action. The Titan one gives back, or the Strand one gives back all 3 melee charges, where the Stasis one only gives back 1, which has things here and there like for this, that's not that bad because I only have 1 charge, which is pretty handy, but little things here and there. I think every subclass's super should do that, but depending on the subclass, like Void giving class ability, that type. And sometimes, and I know you see this, but sometimes my accuracy is not the greatest. Like I have to like aim a little bit better. But the same reason why I've said I don't like competitive PvP. I don't want to have to be cracked 24/7 to be able to hit my shots. This game and other PvE games, that general thing, I can just miss a couple shots here and there and not really have to worry about it, and then focus up a little bit more and not have to be constantly cracked 24/7 working at maximum. I like being able to just relax and hit my shots here and there whenever I aim really wants to work. If you didn't know, all of my videos just people can get to know me because at a later date I'm going to be a game designer. This is basically going to be get to know the artist to get to know the art, that general thing. And this game actually jump started. My passion has started because of this game, actually. This game, how many little synergies, how many little things, it's just a beautiful game, which is why I really hate how much people just don't play it. People play this game, people make a living off of this game, but people play Call of Duty more than this game because, like, for an example, tap the trigger and dynamic sway. You would see that as a PvP god rule, where that allows that primary to do anything. That allows my primary to go from close quarters annihilation with the dynamic sway reduction and just being a good precision frame, just good close quarters, good decent long range. And then with tap the trigger, like you saw, tapping the trigger to allow me to do amazing long range or more scout rifle ranges to allow me to have a good long range weapon as well. Like that combination is things that this game is gorgeous about. Things that you would not think are a good PvP or PvE role can be very easily overall, and vice versa. Like this game has so many unique things overall. How did I not hit that one? Huh. This area I actually want to show off another build. So I will see you then. Or actually, not see you then. I'm right here. I can easily just swap. I am used to swapping away because I typically have in my other any weather builds, it is Hunter, Titan, Warlock, or a mixture of those three because I like having a good split. This video is covering Titan primarily because that is a big talk point among the community, and I'm not trying to get clickbaity. I am just trying to actually show my opinion on it because I really love Titan, and I like saying I'm a Titan IRL because I see what Titan is, and I want to do that for my friends and family. Of be the wall, be that person to help them and different things like that. Like I want to be the Titan. I am a Titan IRL, basically. Like some random guy. I haven't heard anywhere else besides some random guy on the internet said that they're actually like 8 foot something, but that doesn't make sense because all Guardians are the same height. Like, and I don't think height matches with the class either. Like, I think you could actually be like 4 foot and still be a Titan. It matters about your personality more than anything. And hell, because you're 4 foot, your power, something amazing about how Guardians work. Every Guardian has unique flair on their abilities, which is why I would personally love not N, a show or something like that Bungie has talked about, a show in the Destiny universe, something around those lines, and it should be a like I think it's an anthology, how there's different stories each episode, something that would be beautiful. I forget who brought that up, but somebody I played with a little bit ago brought that up, and that is just fucking gorgeous. That and I have thought about that, but he's the one that vocalized it. But it's amazing. That concept is amazing, and that would be beautiful for how Destiny story is even told, and Destiny story overall, because it will show off how different Guardians have different just overall twists to their ability. Like for an example, each one of these subclasses are based not off of the Guardian, but off of unique people in the lore and that general the person that used that subclass the most and made a name for it basically. And for an example, there is no supercharge. Supers, they can just pop over and over and over and over and over and over again if they really want to. Like I think it more matters about mood, basically, like easy word description, mood. It's more light and dark, like how there's places where you can't regen, like not regen, can't respawn, different things like that. It's like that, I think, like something around those lines for why they can't just rapid fire supers. Like if Ikora could just basically play basketball with black holes, but like how like spawning them like more dodgeball with an infinite pile of dodgeballs with black holes. She would, and I think that or I don't think she would because that's just kind of broken. But a warlock would. And speaking of that, in lore, there is a warlock that tapped into the darkness a little bit more with Void. Void, if you didn't know, is part darkness, part light, is an in-between, which is why the darkness equivalent is going to have to be pretty interesting overall. But somebody, I forget exactly the Guardian, but they were a warlock. They tapped into that a little bit too much, the darkness side of things, into that. Believe they talked to the witness. This was before the witness actually had a name. Showed up. Even had a name, not showed up because I think he was here a long time ago, but potato, potato. That Void Warlock, I know it was a Warlock specifically, tapped into that so heavily, they basically did the, I think it's not Feed the Void, Supernova Grenade. The Supernova Grenade from the middle tree, this is old information, I don't know actually what it's called, but it's the shotgun grenade, where you can consume grenades, and when you consume the magnetic grenade, that shotgun blast. First, that shotgun blast used to be amazing. It used to be a Swiss Army knife. I wish it did as much damage as it used to do. But like, did something like the Titan Void Overshield for the Void subclass, where the ability takes a lot longer to regenerate. I think there should be something like that, but more defined for the Void Warlock because they have the power. Like, it would like half or like fourthen the ability region, because the ability region is fucking crazy. Something like that. And sorry if you can hear that. I'm sweating a whole lot because I had to turn off my air conditioning and my console's fan while I'm making videos, because it just is a lot better, a lot easier for you to hear me, and you don't have to hear the air conditioning in the background, which is very handy. I forgot to swap my build, motherfucker. This is the other build I'm wanting to use. This build is actually very handy, and the reason why I have this look is because I'm using this exotic. Some exotics, especially for Titan, look so fugly you have to just say, fuck it, I'm going fugly. And sometimes, like this for an example, I don't really think that's fugly. That is actually pretty fucking gorgeous. And if you did not know, the reason why I'm sweating so much is because I live in Georgia. Sure, it is exactly 3:11 a.m. Exactly where I'm recording this. But fuck, I need to do this fast. I am 42 minutes into this. Exactly that time. But because I live in Georgia, it's never not hot. It's never not hot. But I love that. I love the heat. I genuinely love sweating. Personally, it's basically I am working out by existing. Partially is that. Secondly, I just love the heat. I love this feeling of just melting, basically. And I know it sounds weird. I just love it. I prefer it so much more than freezing, than any amount of cold, because cold is just cold. I just don't like it. Hell yeah. That's part of the reason why I waited. If you did not know, sometimes, and I think it's when you're in another menu and come back, because there's a little bit of spaghetti code here and there that do weird things here and there, you can actually read that. Words. I don't know the exact wordage. Rally. There we go. I forgot to show off the little bits here and there, but I am already kind of showing it off. So it's pretty handy. Also, the reason why I am never going to actually proc the Catalyst for Monte Carlo, because I do have it, is because this is an ability wand that I want to be able to use as my primary constantly, where I don't have to worry about swapping to something else to be able to toss my melee. So having the non-glaive ability, or not having the glaive ability active, allows me to always toss my melee, which is just little things here and there. Whew! And that right there is what makes this build fucking gorgeous. Because even if I don't kill it with that, I then instantly can kill it because it applies weaken with second chance. And once I kill all these guys, I'm going to talk about my build, because it is actually very good overall. Oh. Okay. I think I am good. No, I am not good enough to do it. I thought I was still using the other build. Shit. At least with my fusion rifle. This one has Reservoir Burst, but I'm not really using that because I just wanted to melt that guy. Okay, I think I am good to stay right here. And quickly scroll over all the stuff so you can see it. And again, the artifact is not being used at all. which if you if you've only played like a year ago, or not even a year ago, before this subclass ago, you would think I am using artifact galore to be able to use all these different verbs, which is the beautiful thing about all the different subclasses of prismatic. They all do so much versatility. They are the jack of all trades, master of none. That is their entire shtick, and what Prismatic is very good at, and why I really love the concept. Just execution on Titan isn't the greatest because they have weird choices. Specifically, they need to buff the thruster combo with Dranger, because I think that can work. It's just a little bit lackluster right now compared to the other three, and I think they have to just get rid of Unbreakable. I think Unbreakable is just the worst alternative to, I think, like any other Void. Like, for an example, if they have the something, they should have the on ability damage proc volatile. That is what they should have. That is the void aspect they should actually do, which would pair into you are the ability. That is the exact thing. That fuck yeah. But with a prismatic flare, where it's on any ability, including concentration, I think that Scorch should also proc volatile. I think anything. And right here is where I would actually want to show off the healing auto, because the healing auto actually tracks aggressively to targets, like fucking aggressively to targets, which allows you to basically guarantee that those are gone or the shorter paths are gone very, very fast. Also, if you did not know, with the Yeet Shield, never aim towards the target. Even though I do a whole lot, I really shouldn't. I know I shouldn't. But don't aim towards the target. Aim towards the ground in front of the target, because it has very lackluster aim assist while tossing, but while you ricochet it, it is basically going to home in on the target guaranteed. It smells their fear, basically. But big targets, you can easily do that. Also, if you did not know, when a Tormentor goes JoJo mode, and I call it JoJo mode because they get so pissed they start glowing. JoJo mode, when they start doing that, if you just hit them with a hard enough ability, I think it's like specifically champion mods can stun them pretty easily, and Tormentors, when they're going JoJo mode, even named, damaging them enough with like a rocket launcher, grenade launcher, even when they are sucking your friend without your friend's consent, most definitely, most likely actually, because some people are kind of weird, but sucking them without their consent, that if you do enough damage, they'll stop sucking them, which can, in fact, save your friend pretty easily. Even if they have very shit resilience, shoot anything at them. Preferably a heavy weapon. Special weapon can work, but heavy weapon basically guarantees your friend's not going to die if you shoot instantaneously. But they have to call it out unless you have hearing very well, or they're right next to you, something like that. If you can see it, good. But if they can call it out, even better. Because like a linear voop across the map, they're not holding your friend anymore. They're not sucking them. You're good. That general thing. Like that is a very ease of use kind of way to stop them. And things like that apply to all sorts of enemies overall. Like for an example, the hobgoblins. The hobgoblins are the dex enemy that are the snipers. The snipers, and I'm saying all this standing still because I think that this is a good place to stop it, because I showed off a good bit of the Titan builds and overall the kit, because there's so many cool things about this game, and I hope I muted, actually, I think I did. Excuse me if you heard that burp. I actually don't know if I'm muted. But, what was I going to say? I was saying something specific. A lot of hobgoblins specifically, if you shoot off their head, they cannot go immune. If you take off the head with like a scout rifle, you can easily ignore them, let them run up to you because they have no head, and like typical Vex, when they have no head, they're going to run at you and try and punch you for some reason, and I don't get that personally. Okay. Actually, off the top of my head, I think I have a good explanation, decent explanation at the very least, where the head is actually the processing unit, which is why whenever they're a fanatic, their head's gone. They are just the goop. The goop is their consciousness, is their soul, relatively speaking, which is why the fanatic will run at you and explode, because they're things fanatic. I've never let them stay alive long enough to see what they're called, because I hate explosive boys. Because the amount of times I have seen a good boy, a boy I can fight, I run up, do my thing, and then explosive boy of any sort, like even trying to finish, just random explosive boys of any sort, because Titan is the up close and personal. I will agree with also different things of Titan is the up close and personal. They are the guaranteed get up close and personal, which is what I fucking love about this playstyle. With all that said, I hope y'all enjoy the video. And okay, one little last bit because I'm talking about so many little things about Titan Kit and just little things here and there. Twilight Arsenal, in my personal opinion, is a very good movement super and the best for overall team movement and support overall. Because okay, first, if you are running this with a team, say to your team, you are the only one allowed to use your axes. Because if you toss, say, one at the big bitch, guaranteed one at the big bitch, no matter what it is, like say Tormentor, big bitch that's on the ground. You toss the first one at him, hit the last two or the other two at your feet. Wait for that weekend to go away. Run up, grab that first axe, or run up, grab the first axe. Wait a little bit for that weekend to start going away. Toss that axe again. Run to the next axe. Wait a little bit. Toss that axe again. Because you're doing decent damage with each toss, but you're guaranteeing that weaken. If your other allies build into high damage, you're applying weaken constantly. Guaranteed to, I believe, last longer than even Deadfall if you do it properly. Because if you didn't know, when you pick up the axe, it resets the timer for like a diamond lance, which is very handy overall. But it's only when you pick it up, so we'll take, I think it's like 14 seconds to go away when you just toss it, so you will have to do it pretty fast, do the rhythm, like the toss, 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 but I think it's when you toss all three, the timer starts going. So you have 14 seconds on touching ground to do the rhythm of going to the first one you toss it, go to the next two, toss them in reasonable time. But that system will allow you to be an amazing support, and in things like Gambit, for example, you toss it at the Primeval, you hit the big bitch, and say you do enough, or it was just enough to do something. Hell, you don't even have to toss it at him. Say you toss it at the envoys, not the envoys. You toss it at both of them. The first two axes you toss, boom, boom. Third axe at your feet. You grab the first two, or grab the first one, yeet it across at the Primeval because you hit both of them, or kill both of them most definitely with that super. And then you go, or stay there, toss the next one, go to the next one, toss it. But with the tossing mechanic, there is no aim assist at all. And it has a very similar grenade launcher trajectory as like a high velocity grenade launcher. Think about it as like a high velocity grenade launcher with one shot. Like if Parasite was high velocity kind of thing. And Void. Think of it like that general thing, and you'll go far when tossing it because it has the same arc no matter what. So just aim it properly, basically, and you can do some sniping maneuver. I have yeeted the absolute fuck out of that axe and axed a very big question to an invader multiple times. Because of how powerful an axe to the forehead really is. But with all that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. But kind of not really, because I don't know where else to put this. I still want you to enjoy the video, but I don't know where else to put this specific bit. This specific bit is just for PlayStation and PlayStation users. We are having another pressure-sensitive triangle moment. The thing down below seems weird, how the L1 and L2, how they're in that order. But the beautiful thing about that is the simplicity that is telling you the direction those are going. L1 and R2 go outwards in that direction. L2, R1 go inwards in those directions on those sides. That is what it's telling you. PlayStation really needs to specify things just a little bit more because those two allow, like if you just had an arrow, it would be so much better. For real now, I hope y'all enjoy the video and I'll catch you on the next one.